All right, guys and gals, it's time to go to church. Not that church, meat church. I'm down here in Waxahachie. I'm gonna pop into my boy Matt Pittman's house because he's having a barbecue in his backyard. He's gonna be teaching us how to make some killer stuff. And if you don't know about meat church, get on the net and figure it out because it is badass. Everything you need. Let's go check it out. Y'all talking about me? What's going on? All the kids president accounted for? Heck yeah, watch that, it's gonna be hot. Cheers, brother.
Good to see you.
Right on.
Richard Rawlings, everybody.
How we doing, guys?
Doing well. Nice to meet you.
Whatever. Right on. I saw a bunch of y'all out there in line drinking beer already. That was cool. I'm like, these are my kind of people.
You know, beautiful brisket from 44. Bigger part, my right hand is the point, this is the flat. They lay over the top of each other. You have the flat, and then you have the point underneath it, kind of like this. The flat, you see, it's this whole top thing that goes to right here. And then there's fat underneath it, and the point, you'll start to see it when I start to trim it, but the point meat is all like right here, right underneath the flat, so two muscles. If you cook it like this meat up, this meat side will get a pretty dense smoke ring. When you cook it fat up, you don't seem to see that pronounced smoke ring as much. But newsflash, you can't taste the smoke ring, and it doesn't really make any difference, and judges are taught not to look at a smoke ring, but it's impossible not to. If you're a judge in barbecue and you have 6 entries sitting on your table and there's 5 sexy smoke ring boxes and there's one without it, chances are the one without it aren't gonna get it. I cringe when people go to a barbecue joint like, man, that place sucks, they had no smoke ring. You can't even taste it, that's just an appearance thing. But first thing I'm gonna do is, this does have quite a bit of fat on the top, so I'm gonna just lay my knife flat, shave some of this and some of this off. But since I'm gonna put fat up, a lot of this would render out, but this is kind of thick, so if it's hard, you wanna get it off there. You don't need to strip this to just expose it to being all red. That's kind of going too far. Well, it's not too far, it's just not necessary if you cook fat up. I'm gonna only use 2 knives today, a boning knife and a chef knife. So, super sharp knife is your friend in barbecue, and you really, honestly, you want the brisket to be really cold. The more cold it is, the easier it is to trim that fat off. As you leave this brisket out and it starts to come to temp, it's gonna be hard to trim. One thing I should mention up front, you know when you're a kid and you got a log and you whittled yourself something, I'm basically gonna whittle, this thing is gonna go from ugly to whittled down to be completely different when we're done. And I could whittle on a brisket all night until there's not much left, so I might have to stop me in a minute. But I'm just taking off just some of this loose fat on the top. Luckily the decal here isn't very pronounced, but this really hard piece right here, I'm just gonna slice right underneath and pull that out. I normally do that right off the top. Just pressing down, you know, this just takes experience. Like all fat. You're gonna have to do this a few times to really get a feel for it. And as I start to do some stuff on the back, some of this fat on top, on the meat side, may become a little more pronounced. So here's what it looks like at this point. All right, y'all want to hear a funny story. Richard came by the shop. I didn't know he was coming a while back, and one of my guys called me and was like, "Do I give Richard Rawlings a discount?" And I was like, "What?" So I drive down to the shop. I didn't know he was there, and you have a Ferrari? Ferrari.
Yeah.
Yeah, your wife.
But, you know, truth be told, it's my wife's Ferrari.
Yeah. I often say the same thing. So my 8-year-old is like, you know, what 8-year-olds do. He's really enamored with cars and everything else. And so Richard let him get in and started, and which is really cool. And today, Sam ran outside to say hi to him in his Sprinter van. And I go, "Isn't this cool?" And he goes, "I want your Ferrari."
That's a good memory. Good memory.
We should have been rolling film on that. So now the edge is totally cleaned up. See this beautiful marbling over here? This thing's gonna be awesome. So on a brisket, you can season this in advance and it won't hurt it. When I get to the pork stuff like with ribs, I don't recommend that. But this is a fairly liberal application. I'm gonna do it on the sides, all around. You need to let it adhere for at least 15 to 30 minutes, but this is a meat that I often recommend people make. If you want, get the prep out of the way the day before. If you're planning a big Saturday cook, we'll do everything we're doing right here on Friday. Put it in your fridge, set it aside. That way it's relaxing when you wake up. Like this morning, I had to wake up and light that fire. I'm glad I didn't have to do brisket prep. I can just like slowly light my fire and go on about my business. Just nice even coverage. I try to season about as high as I am to give it an even application. If you're down low, you can get kind of concentrated in the area, kind of pat it on to encourage it.
So, Matt's still talking, but I snuck into the kitchen. I'm eating. Perfect. Unbelievable. Not just because he's my buddy, and not just because it's meat church, and not just because he gave me a whole lot of Miller Lite. I'm rating this 6th gear. All the way.
Just like that. A couple bites and it's 6th gear.
6th gear? Are you kidding me? I've been eating the whole time. You just haven't been doing your job, Millennial. Freaking shit's rad. I can't get enough.
Char.
Oh, look at that. Get some of that char. Boom. Little bark right there. Like Matt says, more bark than a Doberman. Okay, turn the camera off. I'm going to eat too much, and then I'll look like a, well, like I am, fat. Oh. All right, so I'm cheating a little bit because, well, that's what I do. But here's a little, what they call a elotes. I call it corn with kick-ass shit in it, like cheese and cilantro and a little bit of red pepper. Oh my God, that's good. Oh yeah. Perfect. Absolutely the best way. Throw it in the grill in a big foil pan. Let it just steam in its own juices for like as long as you want to, really. But you know, a couple hours, 3 hours, and then throw on a little Mexican cheese. If I can say that, I'm not sure if I can. You just throw on a little prima mexicana, cilantro, a little bit of red pepper, and we're talking good. Just remember, anytime you lock the latches, put blankets on it. This is one of my favorite things in the world because all up and down Harry Hines by where our shop is, there's all these different street vendors that have this. You can just stop by, get a little bowl, a little bit of lotus. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
So this bark on the beef ribs here is exactly what you'll be looking for with brisket as well. So I talked about earlier, internal temperature, recipe says this or that, but visually, I mean, that bark is set and amazing looking, right? Like I say, that's more bark than a Doberman. So this is what you'll be looking for on the brisket. So I'm skipping ahead when we're in the brisket talk and we talk about wrapping. This is what we're looking for. Now, if you wrap in butcher paper, this bark will continue to develop. So a lot of people are like, well, your picture's on Instagram, that brisket's like black or looks, you know, it's so dark. Mine never looks that way. If you wrap in paper, it will continue to develop somewhat, but that looks super good already. And that's been, it's been in smoke for quite a while. But guys are gonna wrap in paper or break my cutting boards, whatever. And then they're gonna continue to cook. So I just wanted y'all to see what that looks like.
So there you go. I can't show you everything because they were making pork ribs, beef ribs, pork belly, you name it. But I got to hang out for a couple of hours. I had a few beers, and Matt Pittman, Meat Church. If you don't know it, you need to get to know it. And if you want to come here and take one of these classes, look it up, meatchurch.com.
And while you're doing that, since you're on your computer, go to gasmonkeygarage.com and buy some merch. Ow.